All right, we're recording. Welcome everybody to the Heat All Team Call on November 21st. We are just edging into the last of our year, and I am really excited for the call tonight. For those of you who don't know who I am, I'm Nikki Cotton, and Chris Cotton, my husband, and I have been with the Juice Plus Company for 27 years, have had an absolutely awesome ride. We've had our ups and we've had our downs, but the ups have so outweighed the downs. It's unbelievable. It's been a really beautiful journey. We came from, for those of you that don't know, worse than bankruptcy. They were going to take our house away. We thought they were going to take our daughters away at the time. And if you flash forward what this journey has done and who we've become in the process, they didn't take our house away. They didn't take our firstborn away. They're now 28 and 31, and we're all in healthy shape and we're all in good places because of our Juice Plus Company. So I don't want to spend any time on me because I'm really excited to introduce you to Kristyn Hanquist. And I really don't know Kristyn. What I love so much about this business is that we get an opportunity because we hear somebody or we see something and we go, oh, I resonate with that, or oh, I really love that, and I want to get to know that person. And it's such a joy because we have these calls every Tuesday night that I keep getting to meet new people, make new friends, and learn new things. So just so that you know, Kristyn is a wife. She's a homeschooling mom of 3. My hat is off to you, Kristyn. She's a woman of faith. She's a recovering CPA. I'm sure we're going to hear more about that. She's a passionate champion for whole food nutrition. She came from an $80 check to a 24 Club National Marketing Director in 3.5 years. And she was nominated for Rookie of the Year at the Eltons Awards. So, Kristyn, I have a feeling we're going to hear some really fun things from you tonight. I asked her what was on her heart, what's working for her, and she's going to share all that with you plus her story. So I'm going to spotlight you now, and I'm going to unmute you. And, unmute. Sorry, I muted you. And we're going to let you go, Kristyn. I'm excited. There you are. Big and gorgeous.
Sounds great. Well, first of all, thank you for having me, Nikki. I'm excited to get to meet you too. I've known your name throughout the company, and I just look forward to sharing with all of you guys tonight. So, again, thank you for having me. I have so enjoyed this journey, and there's nothing that I love more than sharing about it. And so the one thing that I think is really important to know is the longer you're in the company and the harder you work, the bigger your story is and the more fun it is to share it. So just know that you have so much to look forward to. My Juice Plus journey started 5 years ago. At the time, my daughter was 1.5, but we'd already been on a very serious health journey. My husband and I struggled with infertility early on. So this was years ago, 10 years ago. And we struggled with infertility for 4 years and went the medical route, including doing some different, drug sort of things and also some assisted reproductive technology. But it was ultimately it was through food that we were able to overcome infertility. And basically it was doing the Shred 10 program, but it was before I knew about Juice Plus. And so because of that road was very hard. When I learned that I needed became very convicted that I needed to cut out gluten, sugar, and dairy, all I ate for pretty much 6 straight weeks was brown rice, broccoli, and carrots because I didn't know what else to eat. Not that I'd been a terribly unhealthy eater, but according to Juice Plus standards and what I know now, I was pretty much eating Raisin Bran at the time. So anyways, long story short, within 6 weeks, we found out we were expecting our firstborn, our daughter. And so food became very important to me. I then spent the next 2.5 years researching the link between diet and disease and trying to help the people around me to understand how important food was. I'd always been a healthy person by every stretch of the imagination. I was thin, I was fit, but yet I couldn't get pregnant. And so I saw it ultimately after we ended up overcoming it through food. I saw it for what it was. It was a disease process that was happening. But the reality is in our society, we don't see disease processes as diseases until a lot of times it's too late. And so I just saw this as a very scary thing. And I looked at the people in my life and I wanted them to understand food. So I'd spent a few years already trying to help people change their habits. I guess I should say trying to convince people that it would be a good thing for them to change their habits. So when I learned about Juice Plus, I was ecstatic. I was extremely, extremely excited. You mean I can go share this thing with my dad who wants nothing to do with habit change, and all he has to do is take these 6 capsules a day. So I jumped on board as a rep right away and got my whole family going right away. And I had no expectation with Juice Plus. All I wanted was the peace of mind of knowing that I was doing the best that I could for my family. So it did that. It did its trick right away. I was really thankful to be getting it into my family. Again, we'd been on a very serious health journey, and before I had a baby, that was pretty easy to eat well, especially after I went through the figuring it out period. But after having a baby and becoming a mom and also working a full-time job as an accountant, life is difficult. And so I was really excited to have this simple solution. But the reality is I was really, besides sharing it with people that I just was really close to, I was really scared. And so I spent about 2 years doing my business in my head. And I didn't make very much progress with that. So about 2 years into my journey, I decided to go to conference, basically because my upline, Kelly McMahon, had been absolutely amazing and loving to me, ever since I met her. And so I went out of respect for her, quite honestly. And I went to my first conference, which had been 2014 in Phoenix. And I listened to all these national marketing directors share their stories from the stage. And I realized for the first time who I wanted to be when I grew up. Ultimately, I wanted to be somebody who didn't care what other people thought, from a perspective of doing the right thing. I wanted to do the right thing because it was the right thing to do and not because it was the cool thing to do. I wanted to help people's stories. I wanted to change their stories in the way that I saw these national marketing directors change other people's stories. And so I came back from that conference on fire. And I think what it was about conference for me is realizing that I had 6,000 people in my corner. Before that, I felt so lonely when it came to food. It's a really difficult thing to understand food. And I think a lot of us can relate with this, to understand food and feel like nobody gets it. But then you go to conference and you realize, wow, a lot of people get this and a lot of people are in my corner and I'm not crazy. And so it was life-changing for me. So long story short, that really helped a lot. But ultimately I spent the next year still building my business, but struggling still, just internally with caring too much about what people thought about me. And so one of the things that I want to share with you on that front is, if you are somebody who feels that way, it will get better. Everything in this business that is uncomfortable now, the more you do it, the less uncomfortable it will become. And so I'm really thankful for that, because I've always wanted to be somebody who, didn't care so much about what people thought of me that it got in my way of doing the right thing. But obviously that's not always easy. And so I'm really thankful for this journey for that reason, and the personal growth. I'm sure you guys hear so much about the personal growth and you're experiencing it, but it's very real. And so that's part of my journey with the personal growth. So long story short, then I never missed a conference. I haven't missed a conference since my very first conference. And that was the one commitment that I made at that conference. I said, I'm never missing a conference again. And just saying that out loud and making that commitment, I think is the very first lesson, or the very first thing that I can give to you, which is, at the very minimum, make the commitment that you're going to go to big events and that you're going to commit to them, and do it over and over again, because it will help you, and it will help you internally to get out of your comfort zone and to continue acting, and it will help your business grow. So making that commitment was first and foremost the best decision that I've made. So I went to conference multiple times where I didn't necessarily have a lot of people coming, but I made the commitment, and so I'm going to go. And so I didn't always feel great about it. I didn't always feel like, oh, I had the money to spend, or, yada, 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 all the list of excuses. I could have come up with them 1,000 times, but again, I made that commitment. And so I would really encourage anybody who's wanting this to continue making that commitment over and over again. And so continued going to conference and just plugged away, and I worked hard. I remember thinking like, and when different people would make it to national marketing director, I'd want to pick their brain. Like, what did they do? And nobody ever had anything like brilliant to say, right? Nothing like new, or not that I didn't love what they had to say, but it's like I was expecting some secret sauce or something. And I will tell you, we went from 12 club in March of this year to 24 club in 5 months. And I will tell you, in March, I felt like my business was growing slowly, but I had poured into my business continuously, religiously for 3 years prior to that. And that was the payoff, was the next, basically 5 months from 12 club to 24 club. And so I just would encourage you to do the activity, the simple things that I'm sure Nikki and other people in here and the mission-driven model all share. That's exactly what we did in order to get to where we're at as a team. So there are a few things then that I want to share. I'm going to probably continue sharing more about my story, but a few things that I wrote down to share. The first one about what made us successful and what helped us get to where we're at. And the first one I already mentioned was committing, right? Make the commitment. And that doesn't mean that you have to commit to, for me, it didn't mean I had to commit to, I'm going to hit national marketing director in 3 years. To me, it was the commitment of I'm going to conference. And that one commitment turned into other commitments. The second thing that our team has done really, really well, and I would say this is our top strength, is that we always put relationships first, hands down, without a doubt. Now, is that easy? It's not always easy, right? Because we care a lot about people and we want them to get Juice Plus in their bodies really badly. But if we really care about people first, sometimes we have to put that part of ourselves aside and just love them where they're at. That's something that we hear frequently. Another thing that falls into this realm is disconnect from the outcome. That was not easy for me in the beginning. But again, the personal growth through that and really learning how to put relationships first is one of the reasons why I really love this business. So when I was an accountant, which is what I did before I decided to stay home with my kids, when I was an accountant, I would sit in my office and I would think about all the people in my life that I never got to see. And that if I really did that for much longer, I might be 60. I mean, I might see some of my friends at my next high school reunion, but some of them certainly wouldn't be there. And it might be the next one or the next one that I would ever see some of these friends that I grew up with. And so it's been such a beautiful thing in this business to actually get to reconnect with people. And I always, before I pick up the phone or before I see somebody in person, I remind myself that with or without Juice Plus, I love this person. I care about them. And if they get going on Juice Plus, awesome. And if not, what I've done is I've shared my truth with them. And so again, the second thing then is putting relationships first, meeting people where they're at. And I just want to reiterate here that for me and for many people on my team, it's not always the easy thing to do. So it doesn't always, I would have my moments of getting discouraged and going to my upline and being like, why don't they just get it? Why can't they understand this? And so that's okay. That's okay. Just take a deep breath, go to your upline and keep plugging away. And eventually it did get easier for me. I'm not saying I don't have my share now of talking to people and still getting a little bit frustrated here and there, but it doesn't last as long. And I also have learned that a no doesn't always mean no. It just often means not right now, as we often say. And that's the truth. And the longer you do this and the more you share, the more that you will experience that in your business and be able to internalize it. And that's been a really, really fun thing is seeing those people now coming back around and saying, okay, I think we're ready to get started. And this is somebody who maybe, 2 years ago I was in tears about. So that's been really fun. So the first thing was committing. The second thing was putting relationships first. And then the third thing that I think the reason that our team is really successful is we do a lot of one-on-one. And that doesn't mean that we don't do Facebook events and that we don't do a lot of the up-and-coming things, but we always take it offline and we always connect one-on-one with people. and usually multiple times. And, just being very personal with them. So my business really started soaring when I started really implementing connection calls. That was a huge turning point. So doing connection calls. And again, that was really uncomfortable for me to begin with. It really helped me to shift from calling them three-way calls to calling them connection calls. I liked that. And it also helped for me to think about them as far as if I had all my friends in one room, who would I want to say, hey, I'm going to grab this person, I'm going to grab this person, I'm going to introduce them to each other. Because that's basically what we're doing. We have this amazing technology where we can connect friends that have things in common. And it's no different than, like I said, at a party, grabbing two people and getting them together and say, hey, I think you guys would, have something to connect about. And so kind of repositioning that in my head has been extremely, extremely helpful. So those are the three big things that we've done really well. And I'm going to now go over the three things that I wish that I would have done differently. The first of them is going to be doing connection calls earlier, because that was such a huge turning point. So I even have people on my team now who will say, I just don't feel comfortable with it. And so I let them know, that's okay, do it anyways. Okay, we're just going to do it anyways. And it will become more comfortable. So I wish I would have started those earlier. And then the second thing is I wish I would have listened to my upline better. Part of my story is that I was way too cool for this business early on. And I don't mean that I really literally in my head sat back and thought, oh, I'm way too cool for this business. I didn't really think that, obviously, because a lot of times when people have this syndrome of I'm too cool syndrome, that it's more about, they're more fearful of what people will think. And that was certainly me. So I actually started out, and I would not recommend this. This is why this is in the area of things that I wish I would have done differently, but I actually started out as a health coach, and I was coaching with people, and my upline told me, you don't need that certification, which I actually ended up signing up for my health coaching certification the same day that I started Juice Plus. So I was really kind of on the cusp of both of them, and I just went head in on both of them. But I started health coaching first, and one of the things that actually helped me to come around to sharing this as a business is that I found that my coaching clients who were taking Juice Plus were more successful than my ones who weren't. And I'm like, okay, well, I can charge somebody $250 a month for my advice that I really want to give to people anyway, because I'm not the type of person who just, this is what our mission is so important. If somebody stopped me on the street and said, hey, I heard you know about food, I would stand there and talk to them for an hour. So I had a hard time charging people for that. And then having people that were more successful because they were taking Juice Plus, which is absolutely huge. So anyways, I wish I would have listened to my upline more and just really try and not have tried to do so many things differently. In the beginning, I did a lot of things that were a complete waste of my time. And I look back at it now and I think, oh gosh, imagine where I'd be today if I would have just listened to my upline early on and just kept it really simple, which leads me to the third thing, keeping it simple. I think because I did come from the accounting background and I overcomplicated it, honestly. I just thought it can't be this easy to, really create a residual income. It can't be simple, right? That's just kind of, I'd overcomplicated it in my head. But the reality is it is simple, and it's so fun to have finally figured it out. And so what I would really encourage everybody on here to do is just embrace that mission-driven model, and also to embrace the concept of not being an expert and sharing resources. Just as frequently as today, I had somebody on my team say, okay, I get that I don't need to be an expert on the product, but I think I need to be an expert on the business. I still don't understand the HLP. And I said, oh, well, great. I said, go to the mission-driven model, and under building your team, there are videos, and go check those out. And so she's like, okay. And I said, and then all you have to do is share that with your people. That's it. It's as simple as that. And so I really have embraced being a connector. I love being a connector. My job is not to know everything. Whenever possible, I put video links or links to the mission-driven model, or just directing people where to go. My job is to know, and our jobs are to know where the material's at so that we can share it with people. And if you don't know where the material's at, that's okay. You know people who probably know where the material's at. And that's what's just so beautiful about it. So, Nikki, I am going to just kind of close it there and see if you have any questions. But it's been an amazing journey. I thank you for having me on here. And I would love to take questions if you have any, or anybody on your team.
First of all, I have to tell you, I have an expression in my business. It's not razor sharp, it's laser sharp. Like really, are you guys all hearing me? Not if you are, okay. Because Kristyn just froze. Can you hear me, Kristyn? Yikes, we might have lost her. Let's wait a second and see. I hope we did not. I hope she doesn't go away. That was fabulous. I hope you can hear me, Kristyn, because she was really laser sharp with so many really important things. Are you there, Kristyn? Yeeks. Let's just see if we can get her back. Does anybody have a question, first of all, for her? If you do, unmute yourself. I'm going to call her. Maybe she'll come back on again.
Hi, this is Kristyn.
Oh, nope, not happening. All right, so we're going to stop the recording. And